Hey, it's Mark Evans. Welcome to The Lift, where we dive into how the best operators are shaping the future of go-to-market and revenue operations. James MacArthur and I are joined by Brad Smith, head of solution architecture at Zapier, where he's helping thousands of businesses simplify workflows and tap into the next era of automation and AI. And before we dive in, here's a quick snapshot of what Zapier is up to. They're growing fast, from about $310 million in revenue in 2024 to a projected $400 million in 2025, with a user base north of 3 million. And that growth is being fueled by a shift into a more modular, AI-first pricing model and expansion into the enterprise market. And they're deep into an AI-first transformation with tools like AI workflows, chatbots, agentic AI, and an astonishing 89% of employees' adoption rate for AI tools. Welcome to the podcast, Brad.
Thanks for having me, Mark. James, excited to be here.
I'm extremely excited because, Brad, you and I have been friends for almost a decade at this point. It's been great. So I'm really excited to have you on here because I know you made the switch over to Zapier. You're building all sorts of cool stuff. But for those that don't know Brad, and I don't know how in this world you wouldn't know Brad is one of the founders of a wonderful company called Sonar, now Arovi, and he is a genius, gentle, amazing man who is here to help everyone everywhere. So I'm going to start off with an easy question, which is, what have you done recently that you really love, and why'd you do it?
What have I done recently that I really love? I'm going to start more on the personal note. It was hanging out with you in New York a few weekends ago, celebrating our good friend Keith. I'd be remiss if I didn't at least start there on the friendship side. And I will take a small sidestep. You mentioned this, but I'm going to double down on it. We've been friends for over a decade, and I love that we started there. We've been RevOps folks together, hanging out, building solutions, or we've been partners in previous worlds. I think it goes too far understated at times, the level of friendship that we truly get to build in this world. I'm going to go off into some agentic world here in a second where we're all going to be robots, and that might not exist in the future, but I think it is really important. The roads that you and I have been down, both with the myriad of different companies we've worked for, even well before starting Sonar and Arovi and running Wizards of Ops, and now at Zapier, the friendships last. And if take anything away from this, everybody today, love the people that are around you and stick close to those friends that help get you through some good, bad, and the ugly. Thank you, James. There's your shout out. What is something I've built lately? Was that the question?
Now, what have you built lately? What have you done lately that you love, and why'd you do it?
What have I done lately that I love, and why'd you do it? I will go into the work world of this. I could probably go off into running and doing all the fun stuff like that Keith and I do. Stay centric to work. One thing I realized when I joined Zapier, and I'll call it out as it is, I think I just crossed over my first 100 days here as a person who bought this platform 4 different times in 4 different worlds. Coming into this company, I thought I was going to be the expert of this platform, and boy, was I wrong. I'm still learning all 4 corners of this platform and really everything that it can do. One thing that we've done recently, this is really cool. I think this is something that every company should likely end up doing. I tell people this all the time. We're a horizontal product, but really we're a horizontal offering on 2 axes. We can be very specific in the industries that we go into. That's what most people think about for verticalized software. Zapier's not in a vertical space, right? We serve every industry out there under the sun. Go a layer deeper inside of those companies, and we're not just serving one type of persona or one group. We are serving many groups. It could be sales, could be success, could be HR, could be procurement. So when I say there's these 2 horizontal axes, it's very true. So one thing that excites me that we've recently built, and I say built, this is an internal thing that we built for our team specifically, was a use case agent. We've got use cases and examples of what our customers have built over the 13 years that this product has been around. It's almost impossible to keep all that stored up here in a very low random access memory brain of mine. And so if you think, what if I'm on a call with a customer, and let's say that they're a fintech company, 5,000 employees, and me and my solution architecture team, along with AEs and CSMs, we're all talking to this customer, and they bring up an example. Could you help us with, lead routing of sorts? Just picking the use case out of the pot. I'm sure in the 18 different databases, websites, and everything in between, we probably have a use case of a customer we've built that for that fits their industry. But there's no telling how long it would take me to find that. One thing that we built very quickly, and it's live in our Slack instance now. So that's the medium in which that we use this agent. But anybody in our business can go to that Slack channel. We call it our solution architecture use case agent channel, very originally named, of course. We go to that and you can type that exact same thing in. I want to call right now with a fintech company of 5,000 employees. What are some of the use cases we've served there? And it spits it out just like that. In live time, we can sit there and talk to our customers very articulately and say, oh, we actually did this for Bank of America recently, or JP Morgan, or insert name here. And we know this, we're all in sales, even if we're not officially in sales. That brings so much credibility and clout to your name, and your customer's going to trust that. That was something cool and exciting it's excited me recently that we built.
I love that. It's encapsulating a couple of different things where it's in our RevOps world. When both you and I actually worked in RevOps, we talked all about the fact our goal was to streamline the customer journey, to make it simpler, make it easier, and bring things to the AEs that they need to bring. What you're doing now is exactly that. And you've done it. You've managed to embrace our agentic world to do it. Now you are, in fact, an AI, a human AI, and that's fine. That's great. I love that for you. It's a great journey to go on. You've taken this agentic world and compared it with your RevOps world to create something that's giving your teams the social proof they need in every single step of the sale. Where did the idea to even do that come from? How did you come up with that as even a thing?
I wish I could say I take a lot of credit for being the thinker in the room that was like, man, we need to go build this agent. It wasn't me. It was somebody on my team. Shout out to Julia. She's amazing and one of our top SAs here. But the problem itself, take the use case and the very narrow use case of it being a use case agent, so to say, and extrapolate that across any other part of the business. You could use something like this in any department. But the reality behind the question of like, how did we think of it or how do we ideate on this? I think this is something zooming out that a lot of people are trying to leverage AI for, but still trying to also figure it out. And at the end of the day, AI is only as good as the data that you're going to be able to access through it. God, I sound like a Matthew McConaughey commercial right now for sale. Sorry. Data's the new gold. Sorry about that.
You look like him too. It's really good. It's really cool. It's good.
My little Matthew McConaughey hair flip. But truly, access to data is going to be what's going to enable people to truly get what they want out of AI right now. And I think that was one of the underpinned pieces that we had to figure out. It's like, man, we have customer stories on our website that are full of use cases. We have a whole templates library that, man, you don't even have to go build your own Zaps anymore. We've got 80% solutions that you can just hit go and it builds most of that Zap for you. But we have these all tied to customer stories and success that we've heard and seen in the market. But man, some of that's stored on our internal wiki. Sometimes it's stored on our website. Sometimes it's stored in our CRM or marketing automation platform. So knowing where to point your agent or your AI powered workflow, what does this greater dictionary of AI terminology even mean? That'd be a fun one to start pulling the thread on. But ultimately, it all does come down to data and what you're trying to do with it. And I think that's probably one of those things that a lot of people aren't overly appreciating quite yet. To all the, call it database engineers, data scientists, whoever is in charge of managing data at your business, man, you have the hardest job ever right now. And especially as we keep going more and more into this, because ultimately you're going to be asked, hey, I want to go build this thing. And you still have to have the access to the right amount of information and data for it to actually be successful. Better said, if we could do it all inside of just ChatGPT and ask it a quick question and it spit all of our specific company information out, man, that'd be easy, but that's not the case right now. So you have to start pointing to things, not web-based information like we use for Claude or Gemini or ChatGPT. You have to be able to understand where that data is coming from. And that's going to be this underpinned piece of it that's going to be hard for a lot of businesses, in my opinion.
We will talk about how you're using AI and agentic to streamline operations and to make things more efficient. But I am curious about the data point, the 89% adoption rate internally. It's one thing to have AI tools. It's another thing for people to wrap their heads around them and leverage them and deploy them internally to make them better at what they do. From the outside, as you came into Zapier earlier this year, did that approach surprise you? Did that enthusiastic embrace of AI tools surprise you? How did you get onto the bandwagon, given the company seems to be very much AI first these days?
I'll throw this terminology out here and we'll spend a few minutes talking about it. But this whole citizen development motion that a lot of companies are getting into right now is really what's launching all this. And we'll come back to what that means and how we're thinking about it. But yeah, when I joined, again, loud and proud, I'll tell you, I love AI. I leverage it all day, every day, but I'd be remiss to ever consider myself an AI expert, even before starting to Zapier and even now. But the 89% adoption rate, I would almost say, hopefully we're getting a little bit higher than that right now. It is a mechanism of us drinking our own champagne. I don't use the eat your own dog food thing anymore. I'd rather go with the champagne side. But it truly is, everybody at Zapier is enabled to go and solve their own problems. We have a rule, and Wade's probably going to be mad at me for butchering the way that he articulates this. Everybody's got a lot of autonomy to go build. There's this whole rule of, there's a reason that somebody probably built something before. So before you tear somebody's fence down, let's go figure out why they put that fence up to begin with. And so there's just a lot of also appreciation for what other people have built. 13-year-old business, you have to imagine there's people that have built a lot of stuff so far. But we go through weekly AI literacy trainings internally for us. What are we learning in the market? It's our version of some sales and success all hands that we have. We have too many Slack channels that help us enable different reference points for it. As we sit here today, this week is our AI hack week internally. And so while we're all still doing our full-time jobs, we've moved around and canceled a couple of one-on-ones and team meetings to allow for more time for this. Every person in our go-to-market org right now is either building something for themselves, building it as a team or a group of people to go solve what we think is going to be an AI-empowered use case or solving point for this. Many hack weeks, sometimes you get to the end of the hack. That didn't work. Never mind. We're not there yet. It's early in the week, so nobody's thrown that towel in. But I think that's also one of those mechanisms that proud of Wade and Naveed and everybody in our business for pushing all of us to go be more AI forward. And also sprinkle in one little ounce of pragmatism, perhaps. While AI right now is I don't want to call it flavor of the week, flavor of the year. I'm out in Las Vegas at a conference right now that's all things AI, right? And so while it's really important, I think the important thing that a lot of people should be remembering is that this is a mechanism to help you do your job better. It's not the only mechanism. Somebody used an analogy yesterday on stage, and I actually really liked it. We all likely have a vehicle that we're trying to get from point A to point B in. And AI is just this new mechanism or medium for the gas. Maybe it's gasoline, maybe it's electric, maybe it's something else. We're all still trying to get from point A to point B. Sometimes, gosh, they would hate me downstairs at the conference to say this. Sometimes AI doesn't have to be the answer, and that's okay. There are places in this ecosystem where people are over-indexing on it right now, and they think every solution they need has to be AI forward. I don't think so as much. James, I know you're about to say something. Go ahead.
I was having this discussion last week with someone where AI is great. AI is awesome in a world where there aren't constraints, and architecture is constraint. And so when you're thinking about fintech platforms, when you're thinking about any structured CRM, you have to constrain the inputs and the outputs. Your goal is to build a highway. It's not to build a free-for-all. It's not everyone driving in the same from every direction at once. That's just a car crash. AI is amazing at streamlining those inputs. It's amazing at translating those outputs. But at the same time, it's never going to replace the architecture. And it can't replace the architecture. Otherwise, you're going to end up having the same conversation with yourself again and again.
Totally. We have a slide. I'm happy to send it to y'all and share it. That it's just this easy spectrum. I'll do my hand wavy thing here where it's way over here is determinism. And it is so strict, if this, then that. And way over here is inference, which is a lot of what agentic world that we're going into. It's let me throw a bunch of information into the Wonka machine and see what comes out without a lot of rigor or putting a lot of steps in place. There's places for both to live. And you all know this, gosh, just probably better than I do, especially in fintech, especially in accounting and finance, the key place where news shines. You need a lot of determinism. I would almost be a little scared if I had an agent fully doing my RevRec or fully doing my AR and AP and not having very rigid or deterministic guardrails around what it's supposed to be doing. That's not to say that some of the pieces in that determinism can't be powered and built faster with AI. Somebody putting my old Salesforce hat back on. You think of a validation rule, very deterministic. Not a lot of ambiguity, just very straightforward. This is the bounds in which we're doing. Now, that element of it is very deterministic. How I go build that validation rule, I can go toss a bunch of fields and context into ChatGPT and it could write that for me and I can copy and paste it or deploy it back into Salesforce. That's a good flavor of using AI to build something deterministic, but still leveraging the capabilities in something that's very rigid.
Along those lines, we get into the world of data security, which I know is important for you, important for Zapier. It's very important for us as we are financial services platform and we're fintech platform. Thinking about that, how are you guys conquering that? Because you have the issue of identification and private data ending up in these agentic workflows that it's just bad. There's no other way to describe it. How are y'all handling that?
There is a high level of inherent risk involved in it. And I think if any CISO or CIO or anybody at InfoSec is listening, ears perk up now. How are we solving it for ourselves and for our customers? Full stop. A lot of this still is hinged and governed in the right way by certain regulations, GDPR, CCPA, SOC 2, acronym soup at you, but you know what all those look, right? And that's smart. I am certainly not advocating against that. Ultimately, and I learned this a long time ago, well before joining Zapier, and I learned this at Sonar, our early days when we were bringing on a Cisco subsidiary. And at that point, we were actually talking to I think it was the CIO at the time of Cisco. We had an hour-long security review call with him, and super cool guy. I loved having them as a customer. And he just told us at the very beginning of the call, we're not going to get to the end of this 60 minutes. And I'm likely not going to agree with every bullet point that you're going to show to me about why your platform is secure and how you handle data processing and provisioning and access to data and things like that. That's not the case. It's not binary. By the end of this call, I need to get very comfortable with your posture of security and how you think about treating our data. The reality is, I remember this like crystal clear. This is like 7 or 8 years ago, right? He was like, reality is we're going to hang up with this call. You're going to build something new. Your team is going to ship something new tomorrow, and I can't get back on the call with you. So my goal here is to understand how you're thinking about it. And it was really profound to me. It gives a really strong posture and voice to the security people of the world because they have a hard job and it's not binary. I feel like I'm in a Steve Jobs movie right now with him and Wozniak like yelling at each other. It's not fine. It comes down to comfort levels. It comes down to where you are in the business. Now, I'll tell you one other thing that we position ourselves at, because we have a ton of fintech, healthcare, highly regulated customers. We have millions of customers, right? There's 2 places that this level of thought with AI and leveraging AI can be in. Am I only using this to manage my internal processes and workflows? Or is this something that's truly going to be managing customer data and something that customers can be interacting with? And the latter of that is really difficult. But the former of it, where like, how can we use tooling that does have AI embedded in it or an agentic workflow of sorts? How do we use that internally for ourselves? And that's where I think a lot of people need to start focusing on it. Gong's already doing a great job of this, right? Look at their transcripts and they're synthesizing a lot of this stuff down. We have a ton of examples and solutions where we're taking that transcript, we're taking everything that's already been analyzed by AI, putting it through our own workflow mechanism with its own guardrails and criteria to say, did we hear this word? Competitors? Did we hear pricing? It's the same stuff, but then we're branching it all out within paths and we're sending it down different places. That is more internal to the operation side of a business, not to the customer facing side and how they are going to be impacted by the use of AI. I would encourage anybody to think about that. Draw this fuzzy line down the middle. It's not crystal clear and it's not very fine, but draw that line down the middle. Are you trying to solve customer facing issues that could be more sensitive to data processing? Or are you trying to solve internal workflow problems? And if you feel like you're in a highly regulated industry, you have a lot more leeway to solve those problems internally than you probably think.
I think it's also really interesting how you talk about that internal external mix. When we think about internal processing, that's going back to that core of RevOps, where taking those calls, parsing the data, going, okay, I need this AE to fill out MedPick. I can get them started with that based on all of the details therein. It's really interesting. Now, I want to flip us a little bit. Little flip. Because we talked a lot about AI. I want to hear something explicitly not AI. that you built that you enjoy?
Not AI that we built. Man, Wade might get in trouble for it. I might get in trouble now if I'm not talking
Well,
about.
you're in the middle of building a team. That could be a thing that you're excited about building. We're not here to just talk about AI or talk about the technical things we're building, because everything we're doing is so ingrained with people, process, technology, or whatever the acronym is.
You're the guy who said earlier in the conversation that not everything has to be AI. So we're putting you on the spot by saying, you said it. You better talk the talk and walk the walk here.
Yeah, I think we'll talk about the team side of things. We're very much building the team right now. I think the one thing to keep in mind too, that I'll give Zapier a huge high five to, being a 13-year-old business and hundreds of millions in revenue, like you said, millions of customers. A lot of that has been through our PLG bottoms up motion. Jump on our website, start your trial, convert 7 days later, toss your credit card in. Building this enterprise motion is different. We all know this. We've been in enterprise SaaS long enough to know what those mechanics look like and what it feels like. But we're in that place right now where even our solution architecture team, lean, mean team of 5 right now, we are bolstering that because we're a byproduct of our sales team. Of course, we want to keep a specific AE to solution architect ratio. And building right now is tough. I don't have to go too far down macroeconomic markets and hiring mentalities right now for businesses. We're all still living through a lot of that, even from the last 5 years when COVID started. But building a team is tough, especially right now in a world where there's a lot of return to office mechanisms. Zapier, I won't say the cool kids on the block. There's never been an office that Zapier's had, so we've been fully remote for the last decade plus to begin with. But this is the human element side of things. Talking to candidates, they're like, well, I still like getting into the office and meeting people once in a while. What's my opportunity there? We can get to go to conferences, meet our whole team's downstairs, learn a lot about AI right now. We have our summits and things like that we get everybody together, similar to how New does a lot of stuff too. But building a team is tough. And I think if anything, yeah, let's take the AI hat off of that. We can use certain AI tooling during interview processes to synthesize or record the interview and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, this is still a very human element side of things. I was talking to a candidate the other day, not to go down a rabbit hole, but everybody asks right now, how do you future-proof your job with AI in the background of it? And he was like, honestly, man, solution architecture is probably one of the most future-proofed jobs out there. Someone still needs to teach people how to leverage this type of technology. He said it better. He's like, AI is not going to teach AI to deploy AI to AI. It's just redundant, but he did it on purpose. He's like, no, there are still people that have to help enable this piece of it. And when you talk about building people and building groups and building teams and stuff, everybody knows that. If you've ever managed, you know it for sure. But it's a little bit of a refreshing state that you're not necessarily just working with technology the whole time.
I'm curious about how you've connected to your team and build rapport with your team. You came to Zapier, I believe, in April. The company is all remote. So what are some of the mechanisms or the tools that you use to make sure that you're synced, everyone is aligned, there's a sense of camaraderie, that it's one for all and all for one? As a manager, what are some of the things that you've had to navigate, and what are some of the best things that you've done over the last 4 or 5 months to embed yourself in the organization?
James will tell you this from knowing me for so long. I'm a people person. The minute I run into him, I get a big old bear hug and we get to be humans about ourselves when we're in person. But that's a tougher thing to do when you're not in person. And I can flash back to a lot of my in-office days. The amount of information that you get by being around people, even all the way down to body language, finishing a meeting, moving from one conference room to another, go get another cup of coffee. Those are the moments where you're building a ton of rapport, a ton of agency within yourself and everybody else. That's not called a moot point in a fully remote environment, but it's much more difficult. And things that we've done, I don't want to say they're overly unique or overly mind-blowing, but one thing that Zapier does when you come in as an employee, you get to build your own README. So if everybody's done the Sheryl Sandberg README exercise, get your one pager. How do I like to receive feedback? How do I like to receive praise? How do I like in these environments? That's a good way to better understand your team without being in person. You can pick up on a lot of those context clues. Fidget in a conference room when you call their name out and they might have done something wrong. They don't fidget as much when they're on a Zoom video like this. And so just understanding people in general, you have to take the time to know that. We don't do anything crazy as far as extra team meetings for it. We're a traditional SaaS type company. We got 2 team meetings a week, got one-on-ones. We're in a bunch of different conversations for customers all day, every day. But the one thing, just talking about rapport and trust and confidence, take all 3 of those words and we can do a fun word cloud with it. But I tell my team that I've got your back no matter what. I'm also that person that put it in my README that trust in my mind is not earned, it's given. Both of you, I trust you both immensely at 100%. You didn't have to earn anything like that. That's just the human nature of me. A lot of people aren't that way. Some people are more skeptical and a little cynical. Nope, you have to earn your trust in me. I'm the opposite of it. I think that brings a barrier down for people that they can open up and they can feel more confident in themselves. I'm not necessarily one to give too many high fives or false praise for folks. I like to keep it very genuine and sincere, but people need to know when they're doing well or when they're not doing well. And I think you just have to take this very pragmatic, conversational approach. You don't have to go read 5 leadership books to do it. Be yourself and be authentic about it. But there's things that we do just as a business in general. We've got our weekly company-wide hangout. Everybody can join there. And there's just a whole slew of questions. Man, the chat lights up real fast on that Zoom. The people are talking, and we do it just for sales and success. We do it every Friday. I think John Connell called it no silly questions time, because we're building a big team and there's a lot of people that are joining for the first time. And you don't get to walk across the aisle or go down the hall and ask somebody a question, but everybody has them. We have a no silly questions time on Friday afternoon. If you're new, I'm new, everybody's new. Let's just figure out what some of these questions look like together. Is the direct intention of that to answer their questions? Yes. Is the indirect intention of that to build confidence in how they do their job? Bigger yes. I was talking with Ryan, another manager that's with me. We're at this conference together, and we're sitting here as leaders of this group. How's the sentiment on your team right now? How's everybody doing? What's the mood? What's the vibe? And I think that's probably just as important. Managers knowing how to go ask each other and how to be vulnerable. Hey man, yeah, I've got this one employee, or I've got this one employee. Here's a situation I'm working with. I think that's important for people. And you have to go look for it. Take anything away from being in a fully remote environment. Problems don't really come to you that often. You have to go to them and you have to go find them and you have to address them directly, because if not, they'll sit and fester and stew in the background, and that's not fun for anybody.
I love this. What I'd love to do is continue this conversation with you in many other forms as we go. I'd love for you to put out an unofficial advertisement for what you're looking for, the operators you're looking for. We've heard a little bit about the team you build. I, for one, can say that everyone I know who has worked for Brad has loved working for Brad. Tell us a little bit about what you're looking for and everything else that you got going on.
I can probably think of some people that we've had more challenging conversations that would disagree with you on. But no, genuinely, I like to think that. And thank you for that compliment. I was telling Julia on my team, she's out here at this conference too. We were just catching up last night, and you are really enjoyable to work with us. This is probably one of those old statements that people probably don't like anymore, but I still live by it and say it. And I said it to my very first employee I ever managed a decade plus ago. I'm your friend first. Please don't put me in a position where I need to be your boss. We're all adults here. We know what we're doing. And I am sure somebody's going to roast me with that comment, because that's against some leadership book somewhere out there on somebody's bookshelf. But I don't know. I look at relationships in a very unique way. I take them all very seriously. I don't take any of them at face value. James, you know that we've been friends for so long. I genuinely appreciate the relationships I have with everybody. What am I looking for? And how am I thinking about building my team? And how do I think maybe other folks should especially think about this in a sales engineering, solution architecture type role? Being technical is a must. Obviously, you're not going to get very far if you don't know how to build within a platform, or don't know how to build within the product that you're an expert of. That also doesn't happen overnight. It's really hard to interview for that at times. I tell every candidate that goes through our process, there's a technical demo. They have to go build their own Zap. We put very loose guardrails around it, and they have to be able to tell it to us and articulate it in a sales demo environment, 45 minutes. I tell every one of them, the most challenging part of this, I'm sure for you, as it was for me when I've done this before, is I am not an expert of this product. It's really hard to sell something that you don't know all 4 corners of the wall on that product. It's not lost on us for that. That's not what I grade for the most. Of course, you have to have the technical acumen to be able to build. Don't build yourself into a box. Don't build something that you're not going to be able to explain. That's why we give such loose guardrails. I index so heavily on soft skills. How is it that you are partnering with your counterpart, your AE on this team? We do not subscribe to the AE kicks off call, does intros for 3 minutes, tosses it over to the solution architect and puts himself on mute for the next 27 minutes. Not how we roll our partnership with our AEs. We are in lockstep with each other. We're slacking each other on the side. Hey, did you see Mark make this facial things like, ooh, I don't think he liked that. Did you see James get distracted and go to his email over here? We have each other's backs a lot, but I think That's the team sport of it. You don't have a quarterback without a center, and you don't have a center without a quarterback. And it doesn't matter who's throwing the ball. Everybody's got their job to do. I look at it that way. And again, I would much rather index on, do you have the sales acumen? This is a sales. We are solution architects, sales engineers are the same type of naming convention. You are here to sell, and you are here to make sure that your customer knows what they're buying and why they should be just jazzed about the solution that they're about to purchase from you. That's in sales. And there's just a little bit more of a technical component of it. I could go off this deep end and tell you that my big finger in the wind prediction, 5-10 years from now, I think a lot of sales reps will look more like solution architects and sales engineers. They're going to have this technical acumen and be able to do the soft skills that are required to be able to build rapport, build agency and confidence with your customer. We'll see. It could be a little polarizing take. I'm sure I'll probably get roasted in the comments on that one too, but I think it might be the case.
I love that. And I think that everyone should be okay with this. This was at the beginning of what you mentioned. And I think of your work and having at some point or another been friend first and boss later. Everybody has two different selves they bring to work. And it's the friendly, affable person that comes out there. And then the person when things transition and aren't going as well. I think it's cultivating the right version of both is really important for everyone. And that's a big part of the soft skills piece that I think you do so well. And that is critical when it comes to the serious side of Brad, the serious side of me. We should all have that serious side. What you're building at Zapier sounds amazing. It sounds like it's a lot of fun.
Let's do it. You know how big of a fan I am of New and you and Mark and Joe, to everybody over there. I'm not going to name everybody. I'm a big fan. I think the best of you guys. I think y'all are doing it the right way too. Starting a company, running a company, making a company scale and grow is not easy. There's a ton of books out there for it. And there's a ton of playbooks, but at the end of the day, this is still so incredibly humanizing. And I love that aspect of it. While we can sit here and be agentic nerds and we can sit here and build the craziest workflows and craziest things to solve all of our problems, we're still humans at the core of it. And I think the best and most successful companies take note to that, treat their employees like employees, not like robots, but also have fun along the way. We have one life to live. Might as well have fun doing it. This is some passion stuff that you and I geeked out on for a decade plus in RevOps and now fintech and automation. All that can be put aside. You can surround yourself with really smart people and go build really cool things and have a good time doing it. That's probably more of a secret sauce than anything else.
Thanks, Brad. I really appreciate the time, the fact that you stepped out of the AI conference. I'm sure there was some great conversations to be had, some robots to talk to or interact with, and to spend 30 minutes with us talking about automation and AI, and especially people. I think you make a great point that people-powered businesses are amazingly valuable and can do amazing things. And we recently had this summit in Missoula. It was a great event, people getting together, sharing ideas. If there's any lesson from this conversation is that people matter. AI matters, but people matter more. Thank you for this. And I look forward to talking to you again.
Yeah, absolutely. I enjoyed it, guys. We'll definitely do it again. And people first. Let's go get after it.
All right, people first. Love y'all.